The economic dimension of the European integration is the vital one due to the fact that European Union as a political, economic, social and cultural entity began with the creation of the economic free trade area. The first step toward the economic dimension of the European Union and European integration as well was made in the beginning of the 1950s. In 1952, the Union, which comprised 6 European states, Germany, France, Italy, Belgium, the Netherlands and Luxembourg, was set up. It was called the European Community of Coal and Steel, and played a major role in bringing not only these countries together, but also to set up the basis for the further economic integration on the European continent. In 1958, the new treaty created the single European community. It was the Treaty of Rome, which set up the non-tariff and free trade area within the European continent and set up the so-called economic pillar of the European integration. Later, this treaty was laid into the single market, which emerged in 1970s and which up to the present day is the major approachment of the European Union as economic, political, social and cultural entity. The European Union at the moment is the third major economy all over the world. The combined gross domestic product of the European Union is more than 13 trillions of dollars, and it's the third place after the United States and China. Social dimension of the European Union comprises the 28 European member states, which at the moment create the single social space within the European Union. The European Union is not only economic and political institution, but also a social one. It means that all the citizens of the European Union can opportunity to move to the other member states of the European Union, not only within their native country, but it also the European Union, which enables the citizens of the European Union to get the benefits of the European Union within this structure. For instance, the citizens of Italy or Spain can get the job elsewhere within the European Union, in Germany, in France, in Great Britain and so on. They have so-called freedom of movement and finding jobs in other member states of the European Union, and also they get credited and get some benefits from these countries. Like the citizens of the European Union can get the pensions in different member states of the European Union, and they also have the opportunity to get medical treatment within different member states of the European Union. The major part of the social security within the European Union is that all the member states of the European Union, except several ones, have the free access to their labor market, and the citizens of the European Union can get the jobs elsewhere within the European Union. The political dimension of the European Union comprises the institutional framework of this organization and also the governing or institutional bodies of the European Union. If we're talking about the political dimension of the European Union, it was initiated in the beginning of the 90s with the adoption of so-called Treaty of the European Union or Treaty of Amsterdam in 1991. But prior to this date, in 1979, the European Parliament was first summoned. That's why, if we're talking about the political dimension of the European Union, we should take into account also that, the fact that some of the institutions of the European Union existed long before it was created in 1992. At the moment, the European dimension of the European Union comprises not only the function of this organization as political institution, the function of different governing bodies and so on, but the role of the European Union as the mighty player in the international affairs and the mighty player within the European continent. At the moment, the European Union has the well-formed and well-structured institutions which play the political role and which has which have the dialogue not only with the other states, but also with the member states of the European Union. For instance, at the moment there is a discussion about the quitting of one of the member states of the European Union, Great Britain, and the institutions of the European Union at the moment are in talks with the government of the Great Britain about the quitting of Great Britain from this institution. If we talk about the European Union, we should also take into account that even the European Union is a political structure, not economic one. Economic structure is the single market and the European Economic Community which existed prior to the creation of the European Union. The institutional framework of the European Union comprises the treaties and agreements about the creation of the European Union and the European integration as a whole. The first treaty was signed in 1952. It was so-called Treaty of Paris, which created the first integration structure called the European Community of Coal and Steel. It comprised six founding fathers of the European Union. But the second treaty was the major one. It was signed in 1958. The so-called Treaty of Rome created the European Economic Community, which paved the way to the economic dimension of the European integration. The political dimension of the European integration was created in 1991 with the adoption of so-called Treaty of Maastricht, or Treaty about European Union. It created the European Union as political institution and also opened the way to the further integration within the European continent. In 1997, the Treaty of Amsterdam broadened the competence of the Treaty of Maastricht and also made the major outlines for the further integration within the European continent. In year 2000, the Treaty of Nice created the single European migration policy and also put the major outlines for the further integration within the European continent, largely to the Central and the Eastern Europe. And the last but not least, the Treaty of Lisbon, which was signed in 2007 but came into force in 2010 when it was ratified by all the parliaments of the member states of the European Union, and after the row of referendums within the several member states of the European Union, which actually put the way the creation of the European Union as political organization. At the moment, Treaty of Lisbon is the backbone of the European Union as a political organization, and in the future probably there are new treaties and new agreements about the European Union which also pave the way to the further creation and further living of this structure which is at the moment is in development. The governing bodies of the European Union is the major structures or major institutions which actually put the special direction of the development of the European Union, not only as a political but also as economic, social and cultural entity and integration organization. If we are talking about the major governing bodies of the European Union, they are threefold. The first one is the legislative bodies. Legislative bodies are first of all represented by the European Parliament, which was first summoned in 1979 after the all-European elections within the European Economic Community. But at the moment, European Parliament plays the great role of legislative body within the European Union. On the 29th of May 2019, there are the new elections of the European Parliament, and probably the new legislation of the European Parliament puts a special emphasis on the development of the European Union as the political institution. The executive bodies are represented by European Council. This is actually the institution which prior was informal, but at the moment is formal, and it comprises the head of states of the member states of the European Union. The second one is the European Commission, which is the executive body and which is permanent, and it actually makes some decision about the current issues and current activity of the European Union. And the third one is the European Council, which comprises the ministers of the member states of the European Union and also the head of the governments of the member states of the European Union. These three bodies all executive, and they play the great role in, first of all, implementing the policies of the European Union in different ways. The judiciary judicial branch is represented by the European Court, which plays the major role as arbitrage body and the institution which also try to negotiate and to solve some different points and resolve some issues between the member states of the European Union. All these government bodies combined are the major backbone of the European Union as a political institution, and they try also to make the European Union effective body and provide good governance.